It's D-U-E, you tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, joining you here on Game Plus Network. Want to say a happy New Year to you guys as we're approaching 2022. And man, 2021 has been a fantastic season in the NFL. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of twists and turns, but nonetheless, very entertaining from start to finish as we start to wind down the season. Remember, we have 19 weeks in the NFL, 18 game season. So it's going to be fascinating, or a 17-game season. It's going to be fascinating to see how it ends up down the stretch as teams try to make their play for the playoffs. A lot of teams are in. Some teams are still fighting for position on both sides of the conferences, AFC and NFC. So it's going to be an interesting next 2 weeks for these NFL teams. But be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. Twitter at FBallGamePlan. Instagram is all one word, Football Game Plan. And I'm also on YouTube at youtube.com/footballgameplan. We have a great show lineup for you guys today. Some chalkboard, whiteboard sessions that we're going to throw in the middle after this segment here as we go through some games. We're going to start with some games that have a lot of playoff implications. And I think we're going to start with the best game of the week, probably the most intriguing matchup, and that's between Kansas City and Cincinnati. The Chiefs are coming in playing some great defense. They're getting after the quarterback. They're turning the ball over. Their defense has started to catch up to where their offense is, and their offense has gotten better over the course of the last 6 to 7 weeks. So we're starting to see a team peaking at the right time, and they're traveling to play a Cincinnati squad that's coming fresh off of a beatdown of the Baltimore Ravens. Their offense is dynamic. Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. You also look at Jamar Chase, the rookie, C.J. Uzomah, the tight end. Their offensive weaponry will put a lot of strain on any defense, and they're able to drop 40 on you at any point in time, no matter the opponent. We saw that last week against a Ravens defense that gave up a ton of big plays in the passing game. So, to me, that's the matchup within the matchup, the perimeter game of Cincinnati up against the secondary of Kansas City. But the biggest matchup that sort of tilts the game in the favor of the Chiefs is up front. Their defensive line and their ability to apply pressure against that Cincinnati offensive front, which will be one of the more offensive lines that you'll see give up a lot of pressure and a lot of sacks. We saw that last week against Baltimore. We've seen it all throughout the season. So if Cincinnati can't protect up front, they're going to have some issues all throughout this game. And we know the Chiefs do a great job on the back end of making plays when they're there to be made. So for me, that's the biggest key in this ball game. I don't trust Cincinnati's offensive line to hold up consistently against that pass rush of the Chiefs all throughout the game. Giving Patrick Mahomes more opportunities with the football is always a bad thing if you're the opposing team, but a great thing if you're the Chiefs. That's what I think will happen. That's why I like Kansas City to go into Cincinnati and get the win. Remember, there's no Thursday night game, so all of these games are on Sunday. Should be an action-packed day for the NFL, and they lead off with a great one with Kansas City taking on Cincinnati, but I do like the Chiefs in that game. Another pivotal matchup, playoff implications game, the upstart Miami Dolphins, who are on a 7-game win streak, traveling to take on the Tennessee Titans, who are coming off of a very good win, a must-win type game against San Francisco last Thursday night. So the Dolphins control their playoff destiny. They have to win out the rest of the way to get into the playoffs, and this is essentially a playoff game for them. They're coming off of a win against New Orleans on Monday night, and now they have to go to Tennessee to take on the Titans team that is still trying to hold court at the top of the AFC South. We'll get into that other team a little bit later on in the show, but when you look at Tennessee, the run game has still been productive even without Derrick Henry. Defensively, they're making plays that are there to be made. We talked about that with Kansas City, but we saw this last week, the secondary turning the ball over. They're getting after the quarterback. They were able to put pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo. This matchup against the Dolphins proves to be a little bit different. Miami is productive enough to run the football, but they're not dominant in that regard. They're not really moving guys off the spot. The passing game, I don't want to say it's pedestrian, but it's a short passing game. Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback, has only one touchdown over 11 yards this season. So they're trying to look to use their short passing game as a supplement to their lack of a run game. So if you're able to play, keep everything in front of you and make plays one-on-one in space, tackling, contesting the football on those short in-breaking routes that Tua does throw very accurately, you give yourself a chance. But where the Dolphins have been strong and where they are posing a threat to a lot of teams is on their defense. And to me, that's the biggest key in this one. Their defense should be able to find ways to get pressure against Ryan Tannehill. They should be able to stop the run. We saw them do a solid job against Alvin Kamara of New Orleans. And they should have opportunities with the football. The question will become, can their offense move the ball against Tennessee's defense, which has been improving? Jeremy Simmons is one of the best defensive linemen in the league. They're able to reset the line of scrimmage. We know that's a matchup that I think favors Tennessee. And because I could trust their passing game to be a little bit more explosive than Miami, I do like Tennessee in this one to get the win over Miami. We have Vegas taking on the Colts, and this is an intriguing one because the Raiders also own their own or control their own destiny in terms of making the playoffs. They have to face a Colts team that should, quote unquote, get Carson Wentz back in the lineup now that the NFL has adjusted its COVID protocols and allows a guy to come back after 5 days of quarantine as opposed to 10. But that all depends on whether or not Carson Wentz is showing symptoms or is symptomatic. If he's asymptomatic, which they don't test if you're coming out of, if you're still not testing positive, they don't test for that. They just want to know whether or not you're showing symptoms. So if he's out there, it does increase the Colts' chances of winning the game. If he's not, it significantly decreases the game, their chances, because it puts more pressure on Jonathan Taylor. Now, the game is going to be about Jonathan Taylor anyway, and the Raiders will have to stop the run and force Carson Wentz to beat them throwing the football. Wentz showed last weekend against Arizona he's able to make at least 2 to 3 throws a game that kind of kept the offense on pace, that got them into the end zone. The throw to the back of the end zone was a really good one, probably one of his best throws of the season. And if he's not there, you're relying on a rookie in Sam Ehlinger, and now you're going to hope that their running back, Jonathan Taylor, is able to really lead this team to victory. So either way, I think this is a tough matchup for the Colts because the Raiders still have the playoff set in their sights, and the Colts still have an outside shot of the AFC South title. They need Miami to really beat Tennessee in an earlier matchup and playing at the same time. So you don't want to scoreboard watch, but you're sort of kind of scoreboard watching if you're the Colts. So do you trust the Raiders defense enough to slow down Jonathan Taylor, whether it's by himself or with a Carson Wentz? I don't know. I don't even trust the Raiders offense to be consistent enough throughout the game to really challenge a Colts defense. So I think Indy will get the win here and push their record to 10-6 on the season. Should be a fun one. I know the Raiders will play inspired ball, but it's about their offense and their inability to be consistent is where I have some concerns. Another game that has heavy playoff implications, Philly taking on Washington. Big game for the Eagles because when you think about where they were projected to be in the season and to where they are now, if they can win one game and get a little bit of help, they're in the playoffs. If they win out, they're in the playoffs. So they're in playoff position right now. They beat Washington 2 weeks ago in a convincing fashion. Yes, Washington played without Taylor Heineke, but he's back in his game. I don't even think that really matters, considering how that offense looks with Taylor Heineke out there. And considering that the Eagles now have the playoffs right there in their grasp, in their sights, it's going to make for a very interesting and competitive game. And Washington would love none the better to knock the Eagles out the playoffs, knock the Eagles out of the playoffs, or keep them on the other side of the bracket if they are able to, make this upset happen. But unfortunately, I don't see where Washington's offense will be consistent enough. We've seen the Eagles' defense get better since that Chargers game. Had they been good in the Chargers game, they would have beaten Los Angeles because they had a lead when they gave the ball back to the Chargers. So since that point, their defense has gotten better. They're getting pressure. They're making plays to get off the field. They're actually turning the ball over. And since they don't have a significant threat in this game to really worry about taking away, I think they take care of business and get the win over Washington. So we'll step aside and we'll take a break. But on the other side of the break, what you'll see is a throwback whiteboard video breaking down the 3-5-3 defense and using players that some are in the NFL still, or some are not. Some have retired, but the 3-5 defense definitely gives you a shot against spread offenses. And we're going to break that down and why that's so successful and how that could be utilized in today's game to really help your team win. So be on the lookout for that on the other side of this break as we'll be back with more Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show powered by Game Plus Network. Welcome back to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, bring you some good information here on the Game Plus Network regarding NFL Week 17. Hope you guys enjoyed that whiteboard video. We love doing those. And even though it's a flashback, a blast from the past, putting the whiteboard up on the screen is fantastic. So I just think that's a great element of what we do. Getting back to some games, you have Baltimore taking on the Rams. The Rams really need a win here. Baltimore needs a win to try to get back into the playoff mix. They're right now holding the 8th seed, which is just outside the playoffs. They have to get back in. And a win here would definitely not only help improve morale, but also get them back into the playoffs. So we'll see if that can happen. We don't know whether or not it's going to be Lamar Jackson or Tyler Huntley or Josh Johnson at quarterback, or even Kenji Bahar. Who knows? But right now we do know the Baltimore Ravens find themselves in a situation where they have to win out to keep their playoff spot and get back in and keep it. So we'll see if that happens. I do like the pressure that they can provide against a Matt Stafford who tends to be turnover prone. So I'm going to take the Ravens here in an upset based off their defense and their ability to play special teams and Matt Stafford's inability to protect the football. I think the Ravens pull off the shocker here and knock out the Rams. Another one that we're going to talk about that's playoff heavy implications, Denver taking on the Chargers. The Chargers are trying to fight for their playoff life. They're now outside looking in. They were in, but they lost last week to the Texans. And I don't know how they did that, but Denver now has an opportunity to really bury the Chargers. They match up well versus Los Angeles. And I think that's the reason why, even if Teddy Bridgewater doesn't play, Drew Lock has an opportunity to rewrite his future in terms of being the guy for the Broncos, or maybe auditioning for someone else down the line. But I don't see them really being that much of a factor offensively. I think this is more about the Chargers defense. The Broncos defense. They should get some guys back. Chargers offensively, which should help their case. I can't see them losing this one again. So I do like the Chargers to get the win here against the Broncos. Big one in Dallas as they play host to Arizona. Can the Cardinals shake out that funk? Now, they were able to get some help last weekend despite their loss to the Colts that got them into the playoffs. So they're in the playoffs right now, so you have to tip your cap to Cliff Kingsbury and what he has done in his 3rd season with the Cardinals. But they got to play better. They have to build some momentum going into the playoffs. Dallas wants to keep this momentum going because they still have an outside shot to get that #1 seed. So they have to keep winning. They're playing great defense. Their offense started to click last weekend. So everything is coming together for the Cowboys. They're playing at home here in front of a raucous crowd. I do like Dallas to get the win against the Arizona Cardinals here. And lastly, we'll talk about the Packers playing the Vikings. When you think about the Packers, you think about a team that, offensively speaking, they're not the explosive juggernaut they were, let's say, 2 seasons ago, but they're very productive. They can generate explosive plays when they need them to happen in a game. Defensively, they're playing excellent ball, in my opinion. I think because they're playing excellent defense, facing a quarterback in Kirk Cousins that doesn't handle pressure well, and we see what they've done versus quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield and other quarterbacks that they face that don't do well versus pressure. They've turned the ball over at a high clip. Expect it to happen in this one. I like Green Bay to get the win and really eliminate the Vikings from playoff contention. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts at FBall Game Plan on Twitter, Football Game Plan, all one word, on Instagram, and also on YouTube at youtube.com/Football Game Plan. And we will see you guys next week. Happy New Year and good luck to your respective teams out there on Sunday.
tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have the team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have the team become a unit, yeah.